Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2022 film The Lair. It's a Shudder exclusive and it's coming to Shudder on Thursday, January 26th. So this is a no spoiler review since it's a new film and it also is not on Shudder at the point that I'm putting this review out. So this film's directed by Neil Marshall, who did films such as Dog Soldiers, The Descent, Doomsday, Centurion, Hellboy 2019 with David Harbour. with David Harbour. And The Reckoning. The Reckoning was Neil Marshall's most recent film, and it was on Shudder. I had a lot of people tell me that they weren't into that film very much, and I'm gonna say, if you didn't like what was at play in The Reckoning, you may very well not like this one even more, in my opinion. So, I was on The Reckoning, honestly, but this, I really do not like this film. But, as I say all the time when there's a film I don't like, every film is worth watching at least once just to figure out how you personally feel about that film. Because I didn't like it doesn't mean it's a bad film. It doesn't mean it has no value at all, because I do talk about what I like and what I don't like about the film, kind of balance it out to some degree. But for this one, it's going to be a lot more of what I don't like, because I really did not find much to enjoy in this film, unfortunately. Written by Neil Marshall as well as Charlotte Kirk, who also worked on the script for The Reckoning. So that's kind of why I'm saying, like, the writing is the same people between The Reckoning and this. So if you didn't like it, if you didn't like The Reckoning, I think this film's a lot worse. Just my personal opinion. Shudder exclusive again, coming Thursday, January 26th. Synopsis. There's not a lot of story. So basically, it's about a British Air Force individual who is taken down in Afghanistan and comes across a kind of like ragtag group of American soldiers who are in Afghanistan. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of action. So if you're into that, maybe you will be into that, because I do think for the most part they shot the action stuff pretty well. So if that's all you're looking for, this might be a film you can enjoy. So basically there's something else going on. This is horror, obviously. It's on Shudder, so there is a horror element to it. If you do want to watch it, I don't want to give anything away about it, but this British officer ends up being involved with palling around with the American forces, and they take on the evil and, try to save the day, basically. Not going to tell you how it comes out, but, The opening text to the film sets up an alternate history kind of scenario, which is usually kind of an interesting premise. Unfortunately, it didn't really pay off for me. It's kind of in the same vein as something like Burial, which was a more recent Shudder film that kind of was set during, right after World War II, and it kind of like changed some events having to do with it. So it's one of those things. Like, it's not changing overall events of any war, but it's kind of like injecting something different into it that didn't actually happen, but just saying, but what if there was this horror element to it? So, interesting concept. I just think the execution is really bad. The film starts being heavy on action and goes for quite a while. Really too much for me, because I want some sort of actual story to start with, maybe get to know some characters a bit. You don't really get to know characters in this film. And that's one of the biggest things. Every character is paper thin. Every character is default pissed off. And they treat each other poorly. So it's really hard to actually root for anyone in this movie. I found myself just being like, just do away with everyone, basically, because all these characters are terrible. They're paper thin. There's no character development. They don't even really set the characters up. All they do as far as like developing a character is having them have really terrible interactions with each other, and then they think that somehow that's going to endear them to the audience, which it doesn't. So I was like, I just don't get this. There's some acting that's bad, to the point of being funny, though. There were some performances that were so bad I actually ended up laughing my way through part of the film, so that's kind of enjoyable to a degree if you're looking for something like that. There's some poor acting in this. I was a little bit miffed because I thought the acting in The Reckoning was quite good, so I don't really know what happened here. I don't know if they were going for, like, action and, like, stunt ability over acting ability. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. I'm confused. Every character acts like an ass. Makes for very unrealistic interactions. Right, not only does that not endear characters to you, but the interactions with the characters don't feel right. And that goes to the script writing. The script writing is really bad. The interactions, like the dialogue is very poorly written. The story is pretty much not even there. It's just simple. I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't like a full script to it, to be honest. Characters just keep walking into scenes, and it doesn't seem natural at all. This goes again to the writing aspect of it. They had a lot of characters, which I think they really should have shaved that down, or just had a bunch of like stock characters in the beginning that you don't even know their names, you don't know anything about them, and they just end up dying, kind of like red shirts on Star Trek. Not that I'm a Star Trek fan, but because I'm not, but they just have too many characters, and they try to introduce somewhat characters, so they just keep like shoehorning them into scenes that they're doing with other characters. So you just keep getting introduced to all these people who don't matter at all to you and you know nothing about. And it just gets very annoying because they just keep stepping into scenes, and most of them don't even feel natural. Like, it doesn't even make sense for them to really even be there at that point. They're just like, well, we just need you to know who this person is. It's like, okay. They literally have characters just know things for the convenience of the script writing. Another reason it's a bad script. The main character literally has photographic memory, just for the purpose of being able to remember one thing in the film. And I'm just like, this is a weird thing to do. Like, you could do it in a much different way. It's lazy writing. It's just, I don't know. The dialogue is bad, like I already said. There is so much time wasted on pointless character interactions that aren't entertaining in the least. That's the other thing. They make an attempt at humor, and all the humor is kind of like dialogue based. And it's these, meaningless, ridiculous, overly long interactions that these characters are having. And the humor's not good. Like, you know when they're attempting humor, and it just does not land. I mean, maybe for some people it will, but for me, 100% did not land. At no point did I hear any of the humor and be like, oh, that's actually pretty funny, or that's clever. It's just like, ugh, okay. The creatures look odd in this, and they aren't very well designed. The evil in this is not well designed. It's not well executed. I understand the design of it, but it seems a little bit confused, and it doesn't wow you at all. And how they're employed then, how they're actually used, it's weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, you got to kind of see it to believe it, but you're just like, they did this film? There are some, I already talked about the humor. They have one of those horribly cliche, here comes the team, slow motion scenes. Literally, like, the people get geared up, and then they're all walking together in one shot, slow motion to music. And I was like, are you serious? You're doing this right now. This is so ridiculously overly cliche. Like, at that point, I was just like, I feel like Neil Marshall just doesn't care anymore. Like, Neil Marshall's over it. Just like, this is just a paycheck. Like, Whew. I was like, wow. There is something kind of cool revealed toward the end, but it doesn't make up for everything else in the film for the most part. I will say the cinematography is not bad at all. Like, it is pretty well shot, or well enough shot. And like I said, if you're into action, like, I think the action sequences were choreographed pretty well. So whoever did the fight choreographing did a nice job. Costuming is obviously pretty good, and they did a good job with shooting locations. Trying to find positives, I'm sorry. There are a few moments of solid gore. That's another positive. There is some decent gore in this. There's one particular scene that I thought was really cool, but they don't show it long enough, and I'm assuming that was because it didn't look good if it was on the screen longer. It's practical effects, and it was a cool moment, but I just kind of wish you had seen it better. It wasn't just like kind of a quick flash. But there is some solid gore in the film, so that's good. But there is also some really terrible CGI in the film. Really terrible CGI in the film. Yeah. And it's not just like one time. It's in there, and it gets big in the end. all the really bad CGI. So they weren't even trying to hide it. It's just like, this is what this is. Deal with it. I've seen movies like this before. Just about all of them are better, to be honest. This is not a new concept. This is nothing original at all. It's retreading material that's already out there, and all of that material is done better. This just points to one of the big issues of, if you're going to make a film and you're going to have it be like other films, you need to stand out in some way. You need to make it matter in that moment that someone's watching it. And this just does not do it. It does not do it at all. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it a 1-star rating. Thought about going a half star, which is the bare minimum. It's like the bottom, unless it's Veronica, and then it gets 0. But I mean, like I said, the cinematography is actually pretty good. The fight choreographing is not bad, and there is some good gore to it. So 1 star, I don't recommend this, but if you have seen it and you want to give me your opinion on it, I'm totally open to that. What am I missing with this film? Go ahead and put it in the comments, and we can talk spoilers in the comments. That's totally fine. Also, do me a quick favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate that. And hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. Regardless, though, thanks for taking your time to watch this, where I just kind of was very negative. Sorry, that's what the film was. But until next time, keep it brutal.